A couple of you on the quiz had your vertexes reversed because you went with whoever was on the left-hand side first. Okay, H goes with the X, and that always comes before K, which is the Y. X before Y, H before K. That's still going to be your vertex. Your focus is still going to go off of your vertex point, and it's P, whichever way it moves. Okay, so you're going to find your basic. When you have a vertex at 0, 0, you're actually cutting out that part. So I went up, and if you go sideways, that's fine. So you're going to be this way. It gets rid of this and this for your zeros. And it's a nice way to start. Because we didn't have P, plug in your 3, 6, whatever we gave you, 3, 6. Plug in 3 and 6, and find P, and then bring P back, and plug that in, and give me one final equation. We plugged in your 3 and your 6, we found P, and we brought P back into your equation, and we solved for x squared. You okay with this? Not okay with this? Yes.
Get the absolute value of what?
You do your absolute value of P. Like, I bypass all those formulas.
Right.
If you graph this, here's your 0, 0. Here's your, if I gave you a focus, if I said your focus was here, and your focus was 0, 4, then you know P is 4. You know it's positive because it opens up, rather than have to rely on your formulas. If your P is opening, if your vertex is opening down, and it's here, then this distance is 4, but it's negative 4. So work your distance, but then apply the positive and negative which way ever it opens, rather than have to rely on those formulas, because I think it's even harder to go backwards in those formulas. The book goes backwards. I don't usually do what they do. I just find it easier. Use your graph, use your sketch. It's easier to figure out. It's nice also when the vertex is at the 0, 0, because you eliminate part of your thing with the square in it. When they give us this and we just have to put a point in here, you have no choice really. Just plug in your point, 3 squared, and plug in your point here, and then find P, and then plug it back into your equation. That P slides right in. Okay, here's your focus, and here's the one I'm talking about. Your focus is inside your parabola, so the distance, the absolute value from here to here is 3/2. But P, because we're opening down, would be negative 3/2. So you're going to slide that into your equation. That's all you're going to do. And then just resolve that part. This is the easiest type when they have the focus and a vertex point, or the focus and a directrix. When they have a point on the line, you got to kind of work the point, find the P, plug it back in. Stop me if you have any questions. Again, your parabola has to come around your focus point. So once you lay out your vertex and your focus, put your parabola around the focus point. So now we know we have a y squared on this guy, on 53. You know you're going to have a y squared. Your distance from here to here is 2, and P is negative. So we cut right to this. We don't have to do this in here. We cut right to this. We plug it in and find your equation. Okay? Your directrix works the same way, but your directrix is the opposite way. It's still P. It's the opposite way, and so your parabola is opening down. Your P has to be negative. Your directrix never cuts through your parabola. Never cuts through it. It's always on the opposite side of it. So plug in a -1 into here and get your equation. Are we okay with these? Okay. This one should have worked out okay, 57. Directrix, vertex, your directrix is behind your parabola, so your parabola has to open to the left. It can't cross over that directrix. So the distance is 2, and because your parabola is opening 3 negatives, P is -2. 59. I neglected to tell you, I did say that this horizontal axis, I think I just missed half the problem. This was your axis of symmetry, had a horizontal axis. But your vertex, I missed this part, was at 0, 0. And it passes through 0.46. Now, by telling you your axis of symmetry is your horizontal axis, therefore it would have to open to the right. So you've got a y squared at 0, 0. If you left a blank, that's fine. Or made your own little scenario, that's fine too. Plug in the 4 and the 6 to find your p. And don't forget to go back and plug your p in and resolve it. Don't leave it like that. 4 times 9/4. Don't leave that. Resolve that. Then we get into things that are not a vertex of 0, 0. We have a vertex of 3, 1. So plug in your h and your k. Okay. Again, you're going to find your p. P is negative. It's opening down. To find p, pick any one of those points. Both of them have a 0 in it. Neither has a negative in it. So I chose the point 2, 0. You could choose the point 4, 0. Plug in the x value. Plug in the y value. You can only solve one equation for one variable. This had 3 variables in it. So that point xy eliminates 2 of your variables. So find p, and remember to bring it back in here. And then give me one final equation. This is the same, very similar to this. Here's your vertex. It's got to cross through these points, so your vertex says, okay, my parabola's got to open to the right. I got to cross through these 2 points. Again, fill in your, find your y squared, fill in your vertex point. This is your h, this is your k. Now to find your p, pick either one of these points. And I picked the 4, 0 because I would rather not use a negative sign. So I picked the 4, 0, and even if you spread a negative sign, you would still get a positive, so it didn't really matter. And plug p back in, and find your equation. Okay? Any questions? Everybody's good with this? Okay. Alright. Here's your focus, and your vertex and your focus was only a half apart. From -2 to -1.5, the distance in absolute value is 1/2. It's opening to the right, so your p is positive 1/2. So you're going to plug in your positive 1/2 in for your p, fill in your vertex, and resolve that. 85, your focus and your vertex are now 2 apart from 5 to 3. And it's opening to the left, so p has to be negative. Plug in your p. The main part is make sure you get your h and your k in the right position. H always goes with the x, k always goes with the y. Geometrics. You're going to see a pattern here, right? Find your p, plug it in. Geometrics, same thing. Your geometrics is under, it cannot cross through your parabola. So you know your parabola has to open up. The distance between them is 2. It's opening up, so it's positive. And I think this is the last one. Again, your directrix is an x equal -2, so your parabola has to open away from it the opposite way, to the right. Distance is 2. It's opening to the right, it's positive 2. If you say it that way, you avoid using any formulas. Any questions? Denise? Alright, I want to go over the answers to your quiz. so this way it's a good study guide for this too. Remember, you have two basic formats. If y is squared or if x is squared. Okay, so the first one I gave you, I kind of did this so that you would almost see the setup for this. But some of you forgot to move this to the other side. When your square is on the left-hand side, everything else is on the right-hand side. This is one term right here. Two factors, but one term. So we subtract this and put this on the other side. Don't change the one in the middle, because it's only one term. So now it's going to look just like your formula. Line it up underneath if you need to. X minus h squared equals 4p y minus k. So, vertex. What's the vertex? Go to the x guy first. So the negative, oh sorry, this was a plus, wasn't it? My mistake here. Okay, so -1, -2. Okay, what's p? -2. 4p is equal to -8, so p is equal to -2. So, I've got an x squared that comes first, and my p is negative. Which way is this going to open? Down. So now I sketch. I start here at -1, -2. I'm opening down. Now your focus has to be inside your parabola. Here. This is my focus. Because I'm going up and down, I'm changing the y. And I'm going down 2 places. So from -1, -2, move down 2 places. What is the coordinates of my focus? -1, -4. My directrix is going to move in the opposite direction. Notice I'm changing the y. So I'm going to get a y equals line. If I move up from -2 2 places, I'm right here. This is my y equals 0. This is my directrix. My directrix cannot pass through my parabola. Okay? So that I asked you for, and your intercepts. Your intercepts. Remember when I told you, if you do your intercepts, go back and look at your graph. If your intercepts don't point to where your graph points to, something went wrong, either in your graph or your intercepts. But it's a better way for you to look at and say, what happened? Some of your intercepts, if you made your parabolas go up because you didn't move it to the other side, when you did your intercepts, the intercept was down below, it was a negative number. So that should say, whoops, something went wrong. Your P was off. You moved it up instead of down. So, x equals 0, y equals 0. Doesn't matter which one you plug. You're going to substitute an x of 0, a y of 0. We do this all the time. Take your final one. If for nothing else, take your final one. Do it for both of these. Okay, this guy, I'm substituting this in for 0. This becomes 1 squared. I'm going to distribute this. I'm going to add 16 to the other side. And I found that my y-intercept is in the negatives. It's slightly over -2, which makes sense to me. This could be slightly over -2. I'm the -1, -2. I could be slightly past the -2. Do I have to redo my sketch? No, I'm in the ballpark. Then I do this one. I substitute in my y is 0. Forgot what I was doing. So 2 times a -8 is -16. In your real number world, on your real axis, you cannot take the square root of a negative number. No real x x-intercepts. And do you see we never touch the x-axis, right? No real x-intercepts. I cannot take this square. Don't give me the I, because this is a real graph. We're not on the y-I, we're on the xy graph. So that's what I was looking for this one. Right, now the next one, you have to complete the square. Now, it's a y squared. So I know I got to get my y's to one side and my x and my constant to the other side. So I leave this here. I subtract this to get it to the next side. There's no parentheses around this. They're separate terms. So you have to move each term. And I leave a space to complete the square. Because I added to one side, I have to add to the other side. Complete the square, take the middle term, take half. What's half of 6? 3. 3 squared is 9. Okay? This is my y plus 3, y plus 3. That's what I completed the square for, to get that perfect square. So I combine these terms. Now notice, my x has to have a coefficient of 1. So I have to factor out the negative 8. If you factor a negative out of a negative, you get a positive. And now I'm in my right format. So line this up to y minus k squared equals 4p x minus h. What's my vertex? -2, -3. Not -3, -2. I need the x side first. If you gave me -2, -3, -3, -2, I took off a point, but then I followed your graph to find your focus and your directives. So if you see a check mark near those, that means I obviously can't penalize you for getting the wrong answer for the other one when you didn't have the vertex, right? So I followed your vertex. What's P? I go right here. -8 equals 4p, therefore p is equal to -2. I have a y squared. Which way am I opening? Left. The y squared opens left and right. The negative opens to the left. Okay? So I come here and I sketch. I have -2, -3. Somewhere here. Opening left. This is my h. This is my k. This is my x. This is my y. Okay? My focus is going to be inside my parabola. So somewhere in here, slide this over, is my focus. I have to slide over 2 places. Is the x changing or the y changing? X. So if I go 2 to the left of -2, what's my coordinates? Good. I go 2 to the right of -2. I'm at the 0. X equal, I'm changing the x. This is my directrix. Good so far? If you did the -3, -2, obviously I think it was -5, -3. I can't remember what it was, but I checked all yours. Then your intercepts. That y equals 0. Go to the last one you did. But x equals 0. You don't want to go back to the original on the when x is 0, because then you're going to have to complete the square again for y. So if it confuses you, just go to the one that you finished with. Plug a y of 0 in here. So 3 squared gives you 9. Let's distribute at the same time. Add 16. And divide by -8. And yeah, this looks reasonable. I'm only crossing the x-axis in one place. And around -3, that looks perfectly reasonable. -3 something. that looks very reasonable. If I had my graph go in the opposite direction and I crossed it at negative, then either I opened this up in the wrong direction or I did something wrong with my intercept. But it's a good red flag. This guy, I bring down here. I plug a 0 in. So this tells me 0 plus 2 times negative 8, negative 16. Again, when I take the square root, oops, can't take the square root of a negative number. And did we ever cross the y-axis? I right away know, no y-intercepts, no real y-intercepts. Okay?